Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. This is Colantoni, and we will be diving into possibly one of the best webinars that you'll ever attend. If you are someone who has, again, been on and off with dieting, yo-yo dieting, really looking for solutions to get healthy and get fit, this is information that, again, can absolutely, I honestly believe, change the whole outcome of your life. Because we have really been up against something that has been so secretive and has been really, keeping us from being well. And honestly, when we start to delve into this and peel back, the layers of the onion here so that we can really see what's been transpiring, you'll learn today how the diet and food industry has really been keeping us sick, tired, and overweight. So that said, I want to thank you so much for being in class today. Again, I just really appreciate everyone showing up. I know that we have all sorts of things that we could be doing with our time. So I really want to, again, just let you know that I value your time and I want to make sure that this class is very, very worthwhile to you. So if I may, I'm going to invite you to remove all distractions. If you're surfing the net right now, close down all your other browsers, turn your text messaging off on your phone. If the TV is blaring behind you, just whatever it is that you really need to focus in today. Again, my name is Eve Colantoni, and I am the founder and director of weightlossfortiredpeople.com. And I also chair the nutrition team for National Integrated Health Associates, which is Washington, D.C.'s premier integrated medical and biological dentistry center. For those of you that are not familiar with integrative medicine, it really is an amazing, amazing field to be in, and I just feel so grateful because what I've learned in this field has really allowed me to help, hundreds of people with their weight loss issues and medical issues all in general. But before we even get started today, I actually want to tell you two quick stories. I have people that approach me all the time about diet and health concerns, and I can tell you they're just the stories that I have heard have just been mind-boggling. But one that I want to share with you is this. I have again, I've had people that have come in to really delve into their past, and I have heard stories about people who have actually been on diets since they were very, very young children, effectively their entire lives. And I think the thing that's so interesting about it is, somewhere along the line, their doctor or the pediatrician looked and said, I think, according to my chart here, your child is not exactly in the range that they need to be. And as a result, the mother, of course, wanting to do well by this child, would take them and say, oh gosh, here we go, we're on a diet. And it literally snowballs into this whole lifetime of dieting. And I think the thing that's so interesting about it is, what does this set the child up for? Physically, emotionally, mentally? It's like, oh, wait, you can't have this. You need to cut back. You're not good enough. You're not healthy. And again, this can just absolutely snowball into such a huge, huge issue. So again, when we're looking at the diet industry, we have to look and see, like, not how is it affecting us as a whole, as a collective, but, individually, what are we doing to a potential young child? Now, another story that I just want to tap into because this just had such a huge impact on me. I'm actually a graduate from the Institute for Integrative Nutrition in New York, which is it's actually the largest nutrition school in the world. This is actually our founder here, Joshua Rosenthal. And I'll tell you, it's an amazing organization where it attracts just, thousands of people who come to study. And, we did an exercise early on in class where basically we went through and we talked about different diets. And you can see on the desk there, Joshua had this whole stack of different diets that have come and gone. And of course, we all laughed as we were going through because, some of us had done these diets and, the cabbage soup diet and the grapefruit diet and the peanut butter diet. And, I want to check in and just ask you guys right now, those that are on the call, have any of you done any of these, fad diets over time? What's your experience been like? And Harlan, if you could actually field those questions for me, that'd be great, or the responses rather.
Well, I have, as you all know, the Ben and Jerry's diet. What are popular diets that you have done? Okay, so I'm seeing the Atkins diet.
Atkins, sure. One of the most popular for, oh my goodness, that diet was in vogue for, I think, spanning a couple decades. Any other interesting diets people have tried over
Okay,
time?
so someone says that uh, uh, Joe, who had a heart attack and is taking heart pills, was told that grapefruit could kill him. She did
Mm-hmm.
all the ones that Barbara did all the ones that you've mentioned and many more. They always seem to work, but gain back when she stops.
Yep.
Everything known to man or women, the zone diet,
Mm-hmm.
eat
Yep.
right
It's
for your blood type.
right for your blood type, the zone diet. Yep.
Okay, and
Yep.
the interesting thing about it, and I'm just going to toss this out there to you, Eve,
Mm-hmm.
is that most of these diets are written by doctors. I mean, before you were around, there was a diet. The Scarsdale diet was a
Oh,
famous doctor. Um, there's the South Beach diet
right.
from a doctor. There's um, the blood type diet from a doctor.
Right.
Um,
Zone diet is also
Atkins, of course, was a doctor. Um, I don't know if Zone was a
very Spears.
okay.
Mhm.
All these doctors are, they go to medical school. How much do they teach doctors about diet and nutrition in medical school? And why do they all disagree?
Does anyone know the answer to this one? Have you heard this before? There was a well-known doctor whose name is eluding me now, but he actually said during this just was like flashed across the news for ages. He said, the amount of nutrition information that we are taught in medical school could fit on the size of a postage stamp. Not a joke. Not a joke. Most doctors, and again, it's the way the whole establishment has set it up. They basically receive, a couple of hours, maybe a day or two, if they're lucky, a week's worth of nutrition school. Now you think about it, they're in an 8-year program, and they might, if they're lucky, get a week's worth of nutrition information, schooling in that regard. I mean, it's mind-boggling when you start to think about it. And as we unveil during the talk today, you'll see how this is really relevant. Um, it just plays into this whole bigger picture. But yeah, fascinating point, right, Harlan?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So they're not getting much of an education. And since doctors are the first line of defense for most people, we're learning from people who really need to be learning themselves.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. No doubt about it.
One of
So,
the challenges I once asked a doctor that got me into a lot of problems was when they were recommending diet pills. I asked them, "Would you recommend this pill for your wife?"
mm, and what was
And
his response?
um, and the answer was, "Are you kidding?"
Wow. Wow. Not even trying to like mask that a little bit.
Not at all.
Wow, fascinating. But here, it's okay for you. Wow, fascinating. Oh, in any regard, getting back to this exercise that we were engaged in, as I mentioned, we were going through and naming off all these diets, and it got to the point where he said, "Okay, now let's really dig into the dirty laundry here. What are some of the diets that you've tried that you've never wanted to admit to anyone before?" And I'll tell you, for me personally, that I think the ultimate in failures for me was trying the Hollywood diet, which was like some type of juice fast diet. I don't know if you remember those. Like,
Yeah, that was one of my favorites. That was the first time that I saw something. That was the um, Hollywood liquid diet, the 48-hour liquid diet,
right,
where you drank
exactly.
nothing but fruit juice for 48 hours.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and you lost weight.
Uh-huh. I didn't lose weight on that. I nearly died on that. My blood sugar levels were so out of whack that I actually fainted. And the interesting part that most people don't realize, if your blood sugar dips low enough, you can actually go into a coma. I mean, so it's just amazing. It's amazing what people will do to lose weight. So again, getting back to this, scenario at school as we were going through, and it was just, again, listening to all the stories. This one woman stood up and she said, I can hardly believe I'm going to admit this. She said, but I tried the Dolly Parton diet. And of course, we all were just hysterical, but who even knew that Dolly Parton had a diet at some point? And again, bless her heart, I've got nothing against Dolly Parton, but it's just almost comical to think like whatever celebrity du jour could write a diet book, and intelligent people would actually go forward and try to follow this. So that said, he called our attention to the people that were in the room with us, and I'm talking about thousands of women and men. And he said, I want you to look around. I want you to look at the faces of people that are surrounding you here. Do these people look unintelligent to you? And of course, we looked, and we're sitting in this room with these high caliber women that are here to study nutrition and to go out into the world and make a positive difference. And of course, the answer is no. None of these people look unintelligent. So, the idea is we've got to look and say, like, what's happening here? That intelligent people would be going to such lengths, like me nearly passing out and dying from low blood sugar, and this other woman who had quote unquote been on the Dolly Parton diet. What's really happening, that there's so much confusion that even our doctors can't get it right. And when we start to peel back the layers of the onion here, like I said, we'll really see that there are so many secrets that are being kept from us. And again, this is information that absolutely can change the entire outcome of your life, I believe. So, that said, today you're about to discover the secrets that the food and diet industries have been keeping from us, that are keeping us sick, tired, and overweight. I'll be sharing with you the myths that we have been perpetuating, rather, for time and time again, that are not only preventing us from reaching our weight loss goals, but could be seriously affecting our health too. And I'm going to give you the path to real lasting weight loss that keeps your body healthy, revs up your energy, and boosts your mood and gives you that slim and sexy appearance that you've been looking for. So, that said, let's jump into this. But again, I invited you a minute ago to turn off all of your distractions, but right now I would really, really like to invite you again to make this class a priority. And reason being is this: when we think about dieting, when we think about food, we mostly just think about it in terms of cosmetics. We think about our appearance. And again, there's nothing wrong with wanting to feel attractive in our own bodies. But when you start to hear the information today, you'll really start to recognize that food affects every part of our lives, every part of our well being. The idea is, when you are eating really good food and you understand how it's affecting your body, not only will it give you the slim appearance that you want, but it starts to spill over into every other part of our life. So again, good food doesn't just translate to a slim waist. It translates to how our vital organs work. And one of those vital organs is our brain. So when you're really nourishing your body with good food, your brain will start to work differently, where you will start to experience improved focus and improved productivity. Of course, good food doesn't just slim us down, but it should also give us the energy that we need to really be out there living our best lives ever. And of course, food doesn't just translate to these other biochemical processes that I mentioned, like having improved focus, brain power, and energy. But food actually affects our moods directly, absolutely directly. So again, looking on how happy we are, or how sad we are, how positive we are, how pessimistic and negative we are. Again, this has an entire relation to what we are eating and what those foods are actually becoming in our body. Are they giving us the brain chemicals that we need to really live from this beautiful point of being happy and well? And that said, if we are living life from a place where we're positive and we're happy and we have a good outlook on life, how does that translate? Does that actually allow us to experience joy and pleasure? Does it allow us to connect with others? When we look at the bigger picture of life, like I said, food becomes everything. And of course, I won't leave this out. We do want to feel good in our own skin. We do want to feel good in our own bodies. So naturally, the foods that we are eating, they do become us. So that said, when I invite you to really listen in today, I want you to know that you absolutely have the ability to transform your entire life. And it starts from this platform of physical wellness. And like I said, spills over into every other area of our life. So right now, I just want to invite you to take a moment and really think about what it would be like if you got this handled in your life. If you were eating foods that truly supported you, so that not only is your physical body functioning properly, but again, you have all the energy to live your best life ever. You're not coming home and feeling the need to flop down on the sofa because you're just too exhausted. When your friends call you and say, hey, do you want to go out dancing tonight? Of course you do, because you've got plenty of energy to do it. And of course, you're not coming home and snapping at your husband or the kids because you're irritable, because your brain chemicals are off balance. Instead, you come home and you're feeling great and you're able to connect and really live this joyous life. So again, create that image of the life that you want to have, because it's entirely possible when you get this part of your life under control. So that said, let's begin. First and foremost, when we start to dive into the secrets of the food industry, we have to recognize that there is a great food deception that has basically been going on. The truth of the matter is, because we walk into grocery stores, basically we see boxes and cans and jars, and the majority of the foods that are in our stores now are no longer foods. They are things that were manufactured in a laboratory that don't even remotely resemble the foods that our body actually needs. So again, the idea is we have actually changed our food more in the last 50 years than we have in the last 100,000 years prior. It's like the foods that we're currently consuming, our grandmothers and great grandmothers probably would not even recognize. So, for example, it's like we give our kids these like blue yogurt, things that come in a tube, and we've got to like realize, like, wait a second, what is this? Is this something that like came from the earth, or is this something that came from a laboratory? If it's something that came from a lab, it needs to stay in a lab. We survived for hundreds of thousands of years eating the foods that were coming out of the ground. We ate things that would grow, things that are either plant-based or animal-based, but things that would actually grow on their own. And again, when we actually eat those natural foods, our body actually gets all of the nutrition that it really truly needs. So again, when we look at the big picture, we have to start recognizing, like, what are we truly putting into our system here? Now, the other part that I'll mention in this too is, I know for me, for many, many years, my main concern was not health. I was interested in being skinny and sexy. That's all I really was concerned about. And of course, that's what's, popularized. And I'll tell you, I had certainly heard it before. Oh, well, if you really want to, get thin, you got to focus on your health. And I was like, want. Yeah, whatever. Like, don't care. Like, give me the quick fix, trim spa pills or whatever diet pill was popular at the time. I tried all of those. And again, I just wanted the quick fix. And I have to say, I don't beat myself too much up over that, because the idea is we're living in a society now where we're taught you don't need to do, the healthy living. You can just basically wait and go and get a facelift or Botox injections or whatever it is that's going to keep you looking good. And you don't really need to focus on the root cause of why your body is starting to fail and why you're starting to move into places where you're not well and overweight and sick and tired and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What we have moved so far away from is the concept of we are what we eat. So again, on some level, we sort of recognize it, but most of us think about the foods that we're actually eating as being like fuel. It's kind of like you put fuel in your car, and we know that our car will operate better if we put the premium stuff in, as opposed to the cheap stuff. But food in our body is so much more than just fuel. Food in our body is actually becoming us. So just envision if you were actually pumping gas and the gas that you were putting into your car was not just powering it, but it was becoming the door or the bumper or the hood of the car or the windshield. And if you put the cheap stuff in, maybe your car door would turn into like Play-Doh as opposed to, heavy steel that's going to, keep you safe in the event of an accident. That might really change our perspective on what we're, actually fueling the car with. So again, we really have to look at the big picture and recognize that everything that we're putting into our system is actually becoming us. So how does dieting actually like play into this role of disease creation? Well, there's several issues. So first and foremost, when we diet, basically we've been taught that we need to cut our calories, we need to restrict fats, we need to restrict sugars. There's all this like I said, deprivation and restriction going on. So what we've now started to find is that when we restrict too many calories, it absolutely puts a strain on so many of our physical processes. And when we go back and forth between, restricting and binging and restricting and binging and gaining weight and then losing weight, it actually puts a tremendous amount of stress just on our physical body, our heart included. Now, again, our heart is not something that we want to tamper with. I mean, just put your hands in the middle of your chest for a moment and just feel your heart beating. Is that an organ that you really want to put under stress and strain? Like the answer is really simple. Like, no. If you've ever seen somebody or known somebody that's suffered from a heart attack, it's a really scary thing. We do not want to be putting that organ under strain. Now, interestingly enough, what we've not recognized too is that when we go through and we restrict calories and we restrict fats, we actually, really disrupt all sorts of processes in our body, our brain chemistry being one of those. So now, again, if our brain chemicals get off balance, we can really start to suffer. We can start suffering from depression and anxiety. We can start suffering from insomnia, ADD symptoms. Additionally, sugar cravings. One of the big symptoms associated with unbalanced brain chemistry is sugar cravings. So again, we can, go through all this yo-yo dieting, trying to lose weight and then gaining it all back and trying to lose it again, not realizing that we're disrupting our moods and causing our body to crave sugar, which of course we know is not good for us. Now, again, metabolic disruption. And again, I think this one's a little bit more popular, but people recognize when you cut calories, the body actually views it as a famine situation, like recognizing, okay, wait, there's not enough food coming in. So as a result, the body will really slow down our metabolic process, saying, you know what, I don't know when food's coming next, so I better really conserve what I have here. Rather than burning through all of our stored fat right now, we better really hang on to that in case we need it, in case food doesn't come for a long period of time. So again, that's not a message that we want to be sending to our body, and that's not a reaction that we want our body to be having. Now, additionally, with dieting, there can be situations where we get into an unhealthy dieting situation and it actually causes the body to release a lot of fat very quickly. Now, a lot of people would think, well, that's a great thing. I'm trying to lose fat really quickly. Problem, though, is what we don't realize is that our body is very smart. And it recognizes all the toxic waste that we have in our society these days, not just from our food, but from our water and from our air. And our body wants to protect our vital organs from all these toxins. So what it will actually do is take toxins and deposit them into our fat cells in order to protect our organs. It'll say, ooh, we got to keep this away from our organs. Let's just go, put it into storage right now so at least we can keep it away from everything. It's kind of like, if you've got company coming over and you've got a ton of dirty laundry and you're like, oh my God, I don't want anybody to see this, so you sort of shove it in the closet. It's like we're getting rid of all those unsightly things. Now the problem is if we go through and we go on some type of a crazy diet that causes us to release too much fat too quickly, all of the toxins will be dislodged, and the body doesn't necessarily have the ability to detoxify and get them out of our system as quickly. So it will try to find other areas to move these toxins. And interestingly enough, for us women, the body will again look for another source of fat to store the toxins, and it's now being researched and studied that this huge amount of toxins can start to move to our breast tissue, being that our breasts are, primarily fatty substances. So again, when you get this massive dump of toxins that has been, stored throughout the entire body, moving to one concentrated area, can that then cause a problem where we develop a tumor which can become cancerous? So again, there's a lot of factors to take into consideration here. So again, dieting, like I said, can really, really cause issues that we've likely not been aware of before. Okay, moving on. Secret number 3. I think a lot of people will say, well, I'm very careful when I diet. I really read my nutrition labels. Well, again, this has been just such a huge, huge deception. We've been taught to look at, and if you look at the label here, we've been taught to look at our calories, and we've been taught to look at our fat grams, and we've been taught to look at the amount of cholesterol and carbohydrates. But interestingly enough, this is really, really the wrong part of the nutrition label to be looking at. This is where we should be looking. We should be reading the ingredients and not necessarily the nutrition facts. And starting at the bottom here, or rather starting at the top, you can see that there are certain things that we recognize. Well, we know what enriched flour is, sort of. It's like, well, they kind of strip things and then add some stuff back in. We can sort of identify some of these things: corn syrup, sugar, soybean, and palm oil. As we get closer to the bottom, a lot of these, again, I just scratch my head. I don't know exactly what some of these things even are. All the different numbers after blue number 2, red number 40, etc., etc. This is where we really need to get in tune with our labels and really figure out what we are putting into our body. So again, for the longest time, we've thought, well, all these things are safe, right? Like, they wouldn't let these foods be put on the market if they weren't safe. But the idea is, so many of these things were never tested. So many of these things have just been grandfathered in now. And interestingly enough, we have no idea what the interactions between all of these things could be. So I mentioned this on the last call that I did with Harlan, if you were on. When you go to the pharmacy to pick up a prescription, the pharmacist will take that drug, that medication, and will run it through a database to see if you're on any other drugs and what the interaction of those drugs are. How are those chemicals interacting with each other? Well, again, because all of these chemicals in our food have been given this certification of GRAS, which means generally regarded as safe, because they've just sort of been given this stamp of approval, none of these things have ever been tested in conjunction with each other. And quite frankly, it would be impossible for them to do so, because there's just so many different chemicals that are present in our food supply, and we could do double-blind test after double-blind test. You're never going to be able to see the possible combinations of all of these things together. It's sort of like having a combination lock, at your gym locker, where you've got, 5 different numbers or 6 different numbers, and then you've got all the myriad of possibilities that could happen when you switch them all around. Well, it's the same thing, except look at how many chemicals we're dealing with here. This is an average food label. So again, we've really got to start to recognize, whoa, there are things in our food that have not been clear to us before in terms of what they're really doing to our body. So again, we need to start eating more food without labels, but this can even get a little tricky too. So I'll talk more about that in a bit. So moving on now, let's talk about secret number 4, counting calories. Counting calories. So for so long, when we talked about losing weight, we were really, really given the idea that it was mostly about counting calories, calories in, calories out. And as long as you're burning more calories than you're actually consuming, that's the secret to weight loss. It is so much more than just counting, these calories. And interestingly enough, even Weight Watchers, I don't know if you've seen their new logo. It looks like they're trying to like really modernize things. Recently, the founder of Weight Watchers was quoted as saying, calorie counting has become unhelpful. Said when we have a 100-calorie apple in one hand and a 100-calorie pack of cookies in the other, and we view them as being the same because the calories are the same, it says everything that needs to be said about the limitations of just using calories to guide food choices. And, to this I say, hey, bravo. But by the same token, it's like, come on, Weight Watchers. I just, there have been so many people that have turned here for advice over the years. And if you're just now starting to get this, like you're just starting to get this piece of the puzzle, I mean, you've got light years ahead of where you need to be, Weight Watchers. Sorry, I'm going to point a finger here. But that said, let's talk about what this really means. If you do have a 100-calorie apple in one hand and you have a 100 calorie pack of cookies in the other, we can look at this as good stuff and bad stuff. Your body needs good stuff. In the apple, you have good stuff. You've got nutrients. You've got vitamins and minerals. Other nutrients can include essential fatty acids and amino acids and enzymes and probiotics. And you can even look at things like sleep and sunlight as a nutrient as well too. Conversely, on the other side, we have things that are known as toxins, toxic waste. What are toxins? Basically, when you see a biohazard sign on the big bottle of chemicals that they're taking out into our fields to spray our insects with, insecticides, fungicides, other larvicides, it's like we have to start to realize that those are toxins. They are toxic waste. When you spray that on your field, yes, they will go and kill off all the bugs. And I think because we think, oh, well, it's happening out in the field, it probably gets washed off or something. Envision this for a moment. If I invited you over to have lunch with me, and I put a big spinach salad down in front of you and a big spinach salad in front of me, and I gave you a fork and said, oh, wait, before you dig in, hold on a second. And I went over and I grabbed a can of Raid roach killer out from under the sink, and I came over and went, shh, and sprayed it all over your salad and said, bon appetit. Would you eat that? It's like we think because it's happening out in a field someplace that, again, that's not really what's transpiring. And the truth of the matter is nothing could be further from the truth. Again, we've really got to look at the big picture and recognize what's really happening in terms of the foods that we're actually eating. So again, it's not about the calories, it's about really looking at the big picture and seeing what's in our food. And again, a lot of these things won't even appear on food labels, like that example that I just gave you with spraying the fields. Those chemicals are not going to show up here because they weren't necessarily added to the food. So again, it becomes a little bit more of a tricky situation. Now, let's take a look at this. When we say, well, wait a minute, all these chemicals have been in our food system, like, what's the big deal? Nobody's like keeled over and dropped dead yet, have they? Well, let's look at the big picture. What's happening in our country these days? We're suffering from epidemics of obesity and diabetes, heart disease, cancer. And I can tell you what's really happening is this. When you eat that apple that was in your left hand, your little secretary in your liver goes, oh, I know exactly what to do with this. Here's, there's some vitamins and minerals, and here's our, good living enzymes, and she knows exactly where to file them and what to do with them. But when we eat processed foods that are filled with all of those artificial colors and flavors and additives and preservatives, our little secretary goes, I don't know what to do with this stuff. So instead of filing it away, she might just put it in her left hand and say, oh, okay, great, I'll just hold it here until I can figure this out. Well, now we've got a one-armed secretary working for us. So again, she's really slowed down. And next thing you know, another food comes in, she goes, ooh, high fructose corn syrup. I don't know what to do with that. So again, she puts it in her left hand. So she keeps working, and then she goes, ooh, wait, trans fats, GMOs, oh gosh, what's all this? Piles it in her hand. Well, eventually what's gonna happen? Her arm is just gonna give out on her. She can't hold on to that stuff forever. And this is when we start to see chronic disease setting in. So again, we have to start looking at the bigger picture and recognizing if we're simply trying to lose weight, The excess weight that we are carrying is a symptom of something bigger that's happening in the body. It's a symptom that we have gotten out of balance. It's a symptom that we have been eating inappropriate foods. And we can't just look for the quick fixes that we've been taught to look for. Oh, 100 calories, that's all that matters. So let's start to look, let's delve into this ingredient list a little bit further. What about artificial sweeteners? This is a huge issue, and I can tell you when I was, growing up and really not concerned about health and really just trying to get slim, like I said, I had certainly heard all the, oh, the saccharin, it's been associated with, cancer in lab rats. And again, it was like, wah, 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 wah. It's like I couldn't even hear it. It was like, yeah, whatever, that doesn't really affect me. Somehow I just felt like I was immune to it. It wasn't an issue for me. I didn't need to pay attention to that. Well, now, of course, we have a lot more than just saccharin on the market. We have aspartame. We have Splenda, which is sucralose. And, I could literally do an entire, class on these artificial sweeteners alone and what they're actually doing to our body. But instead, what I'm going to do is give you a homework assignment. I'm going to invite you to go and find a documentary called Sweet Misery. Sweet Misery. You can likely find either the trailers on YouTube, or you might even be able to find an entire copy of it on YouTube. If not, just find out where it is. It's a fabulous documentary, and it will be one of the most eye-opening things that you really see when it comes to artificial sweeteners. I'll give you the real quick gist of it, and let's just pull one of these out. Let's talk about aspartame. This is known as NutraSweet. It's what you find in Diet Coke. Well, interestingly enough, aspartame had been rejected as being unsafe several times in its preliminary testing. And a board voted on this, whether it would actually become legal or not. And again, there were split decisions saying no. Half the scientists were like, no, there's been too many studies that have found that this is unsafe. So basically, a new board member was brought in who, again, was cronies with the individuals who were trying to get this passed through. And all of a sudden, they were able to break the tie, and aspartame was then found to be safe and marketable. Well, interestingly enough, the person who was responsible for this and behind all of it was Donald Rumsfeld, who at the time was involved with the company who really got this pushed forward. Well, interestingly enough, when we go back and look at those original studies about aspartame, we know now that there has been evidence dating all the way back to the 70s, early 80s, that, again, serious brain dysfunction was occurring from using aspartame. Just one of the many things. Aspartame, when you consume it, actually turns into formaldehyde in the body. And it has the ability to cross our blood-brain barrier and actually interfere with our brain. So I can tell you, the medical center that I'm partnered with, we have so many young women in their 40s, 50s, that are coming in with symptoms of MS. And when we look and say, we need to ask some questions. Do you drink Diet Coke or anything with NutraSweet? And they look, oh my God, I'm like addicted to this stuff. I drink it all day long. And we're literally finding that they have lesions on their brain. So again, we have to start recognizing, oh my gosh, it's not just about, oh, this doesn't have any calories. It's calorie free. I can drink that. It won't make me fat. What else is it doing to our body in the big picture? Go check out that documentary, like I said, Sweet Misery. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about this whole issue of fat-free being the way to go. We have just been taught for so long, again, we really were under that guise of, oh, fat makes you fat. Well, interestingly enough, one doctor studied this and basically concluded, based on some really wonky science, some really, really bad testing, things that weren't replicatable and duplicatable, and things that later got completely debunked. But in the meantime, we latched onto this concept of fat-free being the way to go and fat making you fat. And the media ran with it, and we have literally had the wool pulled over our eyes for the last 20 years or so. And even though it's been debunked, it's like, for whatever reason, it's not becoming popularized that it was debunked. So again, like I said, it becomes so important for us to really, really learn like what's right and what's not right. So with this whole fat-free issue too, one thing that's so important is one, our body needs good fat, but two, fat actually allows the food to really taste good. So when we take fats out of our food, it really leaves it tasting very bland and flavorless. So the food industry, trying to compensate for the fact that the fat has been removed, then we'll go and try to tamper with it to make it taste better by adding a lot of artificial colors, or rather flavors, a lot of flavor enhancers, and one of the big ingredients on the top of their list to make things taste better has been sugar. Now, of course, if you listen to my last call, we went into detail about how the amounts of sugar that we are eating in our diet these days have actually become toxic to us. Again, little sugar, no big deal. I'm all in favor of it. I think we can't live life, from a place of deprivation. That's just not the way to go. But again, finding really good things that actually nourish the body, and sources of sugar that actually provide us with all the good stuff that we really need and nourish the body, and not consuming them in toxic amounts, trying to compensate for the fact that we've taken out, something else that was good for us to begin with, like fat. So again, if you look at your pantry and you see a bunch of boxes and cans and jars, and most of them say fat-free on them, just know that that is likely not a health food, and definitely not something that will ultimately get you to your goals. Okay, moving on. Secret myth number 7. Being healthy is boring. It's boring, and it's time consuming. Look at the picture right here. It's like, oh wow, she's got a pitcher of water, she's got a big plate of celery, and it looks like some sports equipment. So yeah, you're gonna have to engage in a bunch of physical activity that you don't like. You're gonna have to eat a bunch of food that you don't like, and you're gonna have to drink beverages that you don't like too. I can tell you that nothing could be further from the truth. And honestly, if I had to live like that, I wouldn't want to live that way either. That doesn't look like fun to me. And once again, it gets back to this idea that we have to be deprived. Well, nothing could be further from the truth. When you actually learn what's healthy, you'll realize that real food is absolutely some of the most delicious gourmet food on the planet. Like when you go to really good gourmet restaurants, they're not using a bunch of processed foods that come in boxes and cans and jars. They're getting the cleanest, most nutrient dense foods, because nutrient dense foods actually taste fantastic. I'll tell you this quick story. A couple of years ago, I went to the farmer's market, and there were these 2 young ladies that were walking in front of me, and they looked like college students, actually. I mean, they looked like they were probably not more than 21. And they had no weight issues whatsoever. And one girl was turning to the other as they were walking into the farmer's market, and she said, well, doesn't all this organic food cost more? And the other girl turned to her and she said, oh, but wait till you see. It just tastes so much better. It's just really, the flavor is so different. Just wait till we get home and you try this. Now, interestingly enough, the girl that was taking her friend there, she wasn't taking her to buy organic food because they were concerned about their health. I mean, that was the furthest thing from their mind. They were both young and beautiful and healthy and had no concerns whatsoever. But she recognized that the food that they were getting there tasted so much better. Again, just on a pleasure level, there's something to be said about getting good, clean, organic food. When you're getting food that actually grows in good nutrient dense soils, it allows the food to become healthier, and the food really gets enhanced to its own beautiful natural state. I'll tell you another quick story. Good couple, a good friend of mine, she and her husband, she really started to embrace this way of living and changed her diet and lifestyle. And she said, you know what, I'm just going to do this for me, and if he catches on and comes with me at some point, that'll be his choice. But right now, I know I have to take care of myself, and my life doesn't have to be dependent on his. So, for a long time, they would go out to restaurants, and she would order, a salad, and she'd roll her eyes and go, oh God, I can taste the chemicals. Now that I've been so free of all these, icky toxins, I can actually taste when they're present. And he would look at her like she had 3 heads and say, oh my God, you're totally just making something out of nothing here. You're making a mountain out of a molehill. You're inventing problems. There's nothing wrong with the salad that you're eating. Well, of course, time passed, and he actually saw the changes that were happening in her body. She was slimming down. Her skin started to glow. Her hair looked amazing. All of a sudden, she had tons of energy. And he was like, "Oh my God, I don't even know who you are anymore. This is awesome." He's like, "Look, I know I've been making fun of you for all this stuff, but I mean, the proof is in the pudding. Like, I can really see how this is affecting you. Yeah, can I, yeah, I don't know. I'm interested in this." And she was like, "Beautiful, great." So she, of course, started helping him with his diet, and he started making these changes too. And sure enough, time passed. They went out to a restaurant, they ordered a salad, and he looked at her and said, "Oh my God, I get it now. All those times when I just thought that you were being crazy," he's like, "I totally can taste the difference now too." He's like, this lettuce that's been grown in these nutrient depleted soils and sprayed with all these chemicals, it tastes like cardboard. It tastes like styrofoam. And on top of it, it tastes gross from all these chemicals. He's like, it totally makes a difference. And it really, really, truly does. So I'll tell you, the reason why I again, have embraced this myself, and the reason why I am now working in this field and trying to lead people, to this different way of living, is because at some point, as I mentioned, that I too, I was truly overweight. I was truly exhausted. I was extremely unhappy. I was actually on 14 different medications. And again, it's because I had grown up eating this, garbagey standard American diet, boxes of macaroni and cheese and little Debbie snack cakes and, just literally like the most nutrient depleted, denatured foods that were not only not giving my body what it needed, but they were actually, dumping a bunch of toxic waste into my system. And then I would fight with myself and try to, cut my portions. And again, I was cutting portions of things that weren't even providing my body what it needed to begin with. I didn't really know that there was another way to live. I mean, I just didn't know. I would read all the magazines and I would, follow all the diets du jour. But again, none of them were really, really teaching how to truly be healthy. And I can tell you, it was an amazing experience for me when I really finally caught on to this, because it became something that was actually fun. It was like, oh my God, like I'm learning all this really cool stuff, and it's actually really pleasurable, and it's just an amazing way to really live. And it became something that I cherished and something that I wanted to do and I chose to do. And really, in such a short period of time, it was amazing. I went from being on 14 different medications and a size 14 to being on zero medications and a size zero. And I'll tell you, my body has shifted since then. I actually became a mother, and it's really nice because I feel actually a lot healthier. I'm about a size 4 now, and it feels like a better place for me. I think I was maybe a little underweight for a while, but that's okay. It's like I said, your body really can balance and find its own natural rhythm. But the biggest thing that has actually happened to me, I never thought that I would be healthy enough to have a baby. And again, being on 14 different medications and so overweight and so exhausted, I just never thought I would be that healthy. And it was amazing. When I went through this process, it's like everything came back into balance. Not only did my weight disappear, but my migraine headaches disappeared, my mood imbalance disappeared, my allergies disappeared. I was able to throw away my asthma inhaler. And like I said, I now have this absolutely gorgeous, beautiful little girl. She actually just turned 3. So again, like I said, it literally translates, getting healthy is not just about losing weight, it literally translates into every other part of your life. So that said, what I would love to do now is, I actually just want to share this with you too. I know because some people will say to me, well, it worked for you. But again, this is what I do now. I work with clients every single day. And I'll just share this with you briefly. Melissa wrote in, who was a client of mine. And again, she was somebody who, just had never known how to take care of herself. She was literally living off of, takeout lunches and restaurant foods and frozen foods, and she was doing the best that she thought she could. But she said, meeting Eve has literally changed my life. I was constantly fatigued. I was 25 pounds overweight, had terrible PMS symptoms, and as somebody who never cooked, she was spending a lot of money eating out and then throwing frozen dinners in the microwave, and she recognized she was ruining her health in the process. She was miserable and desperate for help. She said, I have to confess, I was a lifelong chocoholic when I met Eve, and she told me that I would no longer crave chocolates and sweets on her program. I had my doubts. But fast forward 6 weeks later, she said, I'm a changed woman. I've discovered a whole new world of foods, and I'm actually enjoying cooking. I no longer yo-yo from having good eating days to bad eating days, and most days I can't even finish the amount of food that I plan to eat. That's really true. When you start to eat really good quality, nutrient-dense foods, I mean, it's amazing. You never feel deprived. It's like I said, or she even quoted here, you really oftentimes can produce enough food in your own kitchen where you're like, I can't even eat all this. Strange thing is, she said that even after years of going on diets and feeling deprived and then falling off the wagon, she said this new way of life has been so easy to implement and maintain. And yes, the cravings for chocolate and sweets have gone. Not only do I feel better, but I'm fitting into clothes that I've not been able to wear for 8 years. The weight just falls off, and yet I'm honestly eating more food than I've ever done in the past. My PMS symptoms have all but disappeared, and just have to trust the process. It really works. So that said, I would love to share with you now what it is that you really need to move back into this place of being vibrantly healthy. So actually, I can't see who's raising their hand, but I'd say go ahead and raise your hand and tell me who's in and who would like to hear about this. Basically, what I have done is develop the Weight Loss for Tired People program. And basically what this is it's a 12-week program that really is geared towards turning around everything that you've been taught about dieting and really giving your body what it needs to not only slim down and lose weight, but to increase your energy and give you back your focus and boost your mood. And like I said, give you the total life transformation that I got to experience. The 12 modules are actually on both video and audio. But let's go through and let's talk about what you'll actually be learning. So module number 1, this is the ultimate key to success. Now again, I have found that it's not just about knowing which foods to eat and which foods not to eat. Like, we have to look and say so many people have been living a certain way, like having a certain lifestyle, their entire lives. So when we suddenly say, oh, well, here's this food, it's like we're talking not about just changing the food, we're really changing about the way that you live. And honestly, I can say to people, I want this to be the very last weight loss program that you ever follow. So I'm going to give you the ultimate key to success, which is really, really, truly about not just some other diet plan that you follow for a little while and go back to the way that you're eating. It's about learning how to live a completely different life. And it's such a beautiful life because, again, like I said, everything starts to change. Everything starts to change. So that said, I'll share this with you. Pamela had written in to say, hadn't I just heard it all? Didn't every diet plan have some program that required like day and night vigilance? It's almost like starting a new religion, right? She said, was I going to carry around special foods while I was traveling or at meetings or business lunches or dinners? Was there a sane way for somebody like me to lose weight too? Then came Eve with one easy suggestion at the beginning of the day, one change, and boom, 16 pounds gone. It's really like a miracle too, because I like what I'm doing, the taste and the variety and the convenience, and I'm now starting to incorporate other things to fit into my lifestyle. It really is a great course. And I'll say this too, literally the very first module, it's like I'll oftentimes say to my students, if you get nothing out of this class, if you just do this, you can actually change your life just with this alone. So then, moving into module number 2, I'm going to talk to you about secret fat burner foods, because there are foods that are literally like powerhouses. They will actually go through, detoxify your body to help you move fat out of your system, while simultaneously like firing up your metabolism and literally like cleansing your blood. I mean, they are just amazing. And when you learn what these are and how to work with them and like how to actually prepare them, they're absolutely fabulous. And the real secret too is the diet industry has like convinced us that these are like flavorless or even yucky and that we don't want to eat them. And it's such a scam. It's such a scam. When you start to eat these foods, you'll realize they're fabulous. Now, module 3, awesome energy foods. This, again, is just a fabulous way when you start to learn that there's all these foods out there that actually, like I said, power your body up, give you tons of energy, and again, don't bog you down with all the toxic waste that your body has to like work extra hard to detoxify instead of giving you energy to like move throughout your day. It really makes a huge difference. So I'll tell you just briefly about Lori. Lori was, I have so much admiration for her. She said, working with Eve has been a life changing experience. She really just opened up to this whole new way of eating and just embraced it. She actually has three little girls, and she was really interested in finding ways to not only, heal her own body and lose the weight that she needed to lose, but how to like introduce more and better, foods to her children. So it was amazing. Like her kids would turn and say, "Is this something that Eve would approve of us eating, Mom?" And she just said, "Oh my gosh, this was worth every single penny just for that alone to get these three little girls suddenly like really engaged and interested in eating these healthy foods too." So that said, we're going to move into module 4, which is sweet satisfaction. I am not the food police, and I do not believe in saying, "Oh, you can't eat this and you can't eat that." And how would you feel if you basically like were told, "Oh, you can never have cookies or chocolate or ice cream or cake, for the rest of your life"? Oh my God! I mean, that to me, I'd be like, okay, life not worth living any longer. Like we do need to have some sweetness in our life, and we don't have to deprive ourselves of it. But we do need to find better ways to go about it so that we really can give our bodies something that's fabulous. And there's so many fabulous ways to give our bodies delicious, delicious, healthy sweets without all the problems that we find with all the garbagey sugars that are out there. So that said too, Teresa had come to work with me, and I'll tell you, in 3 months, she lost not only 27 pounds, but her energy was like at an all-time low. She was actually very, very sick. She had been working with Johns Hopkins doctors for a decade, more than a decade actually. And she actually had more success with me in 3 months than she did in over a decade's worth of time with Johns Hopkins University doctors. So again, she just had this left here with an amazing box of tools that really just gave her, everything that she needed to start living from this healthy place of existence again. Really just a beautiful transformation story with Teresa. Now, module 5, we're going to move into staying fuller longer. Okay, this is a fabulous, fabulous module too, because there's all these wonderful foods that actually, you don't have to eat much of, and they give you tons of energy. They really help you to like stay satisfied. And you don't have to think about food all day long. It's like when we're on these deprivation diets where we feel like we're starving, it's like food becomes so mentally consuming, where you're like, oh my God, when's my next meal? So when you really learn what these foods are and how to work with them, it's just fabulous. Next, module 6, happy brain, happy you. As I mentioned, there's so many foods that have caused dysregulation of our brain chemistry. And again, it is rampant. We see that there's like 40 million Americans on antidepressants these days. We have to start asking questions rather than why is the brain chemistry out of balance and oh, here, just take this drug that you have to stay on for the rest of your life. There are ways that we can actually get our brain to start producing its own feel-good hormones again. And that absolutely translates into feeling good in your own body. It allows you to move away from sugar cravings effortlessly, and it can really move you back to a place of feeling focused and energized, which again translates into you moving more and acting more and having a better life in general. And when we're having a better life in general, we tend to like not be hovering around the kitchen, mindlessly snacking on things, and it's like life takes on a new meaning, like I said. So Lori was a great example of this. She was somebody who had actually been dieting for most of her adult life. And she would lose weight and gain it back and lose weight and gain it back. She was like totally controlled by food binges and sugar cravings. And she literally tried like every diet under the sun. And working with me, immediately lost 20 pounds. And it was just this steady, consistent 1 to 2 pounds a week. And she just felt great in her body, and she continued to lose weight. In fact, Lori was so skeptical of this whole natural way of doing things when we first started working together. I thought she might self-sabotage herself. I really thought, oh God, she's not going to believe that this could really work. Well, not only was she a true convert, but she actually wound up enrolling in the school that I went to and becoming a health coach herself. And she now does this type of work because she said, how can I keep this a secret? She's like, this was such an amazing transformation in my own life. I have to help other people down this path too. Next, we're going to talk about module 7, power up supplements. Now, have you ever walked into the health food store where you see like aisles and aisles and aisles of supplements, and there's like the supplement du jour, oh, you need to take this, oh, you need to take that. It can literally be a full-time job. I really want to debunk all that and really give you some solid information on which ones could be helpful to you and which ones are worth trying. And again, which ones you just like, avoid all the hype. And it really can save you a lot of money that way. Okay, next, metabolic power. This is fabulous. We are really going to delve into how to like fire up your metabolism, how to like work with cleaning your gut so that you're really getting the most nutrition from the foods that you're eating, the most bang for your buck, and again, how to actually shift your internal ecosystem so that you actually bring in good guys, good armies that will start to work on your behalf. It's a really amazing, amazing module. I think people get so much from this one, and it's not that many people are talking about this, so it becomes very important. Number 9, beauty foods, also known as raw food radiance. This is an amazing way to bring in enzymes that will change your skin and your hair and literally make you start to like glow from the inside out. So not only do you start to like slim down, but it's amazing. You actually start to get more beautiful in the process. It's a really neat thing to experience too. I'll tell you too, this is an amazing module. Yvonne actually lost 50 pounds just with this one module alone. Bless her heart. I love Yvonne. She was so driven, and she just said, I found that one piece that's working for me. She ran with it, and 50 pounds later, she was looking amazing and feeling great too. We're almost to the end here. There's a lot of great stuff in this course. So again, protein power. What do you need? What do you don't need? Like, let's debunk all the myths there so we can really start giving you tons of great energy and helping you not only to lose fat, but build muscle so that you really do get that toned, trim, gorgeous looking body that you're looking for. Fact or fiction, we need to know about this too, because this is really gonna, again, help your brain to function well. It's like throwing a log on the fire so that you get all this amazing, long-lasting energy. And let's face it, fat tastes good. We want foods that taste good. And I'll tell you, people freak out when I tell them like what food fats they can eat and how much of it. They're like, are you joking? Like, this is so not a diet and this is gonna work. And it's like, yeah, it works and it's amazing. You get to eat all this fabulous food. So Carolyn was another great example of this. She said, 19 pounds, just boom, gone. And it was like, little changes each week. Nothing crazy. It's like I teach in these little bite-sized pieces, so it's very manageable. You get a few, easy to implement things, so it's not some radical, like, oh, you got to change everything overnight. She said her doctor was so excited when he saw that, and you know what? The weight just kept coming off for her too. Last module, awesome self-care. It's like we really do need to learn how to like nurture our bodies and nurture our lives, and it's amazing what can transpire in terms of our overall wellness when this occurs. So this too, Della, my last example here, her husband lost 40 pounds. She said this was like turning back the hands on the clock. Again, she just found tremendous camaraderie from the other participants in the class and couldn't recommend this more highly. She actually went on to become a health coach too, and is helping people with this new way of living herself. So in addition to all the modules, I give you PDF handout outlines each week, so you know exactly what you're supposed to be, learning, and it makes it very easy to follow along. So it's like for audio learners, if you learn just by listening, you'll have the recorded audios. If you're a visual learner, you'll watch the videos, and follow the handouts, or you can read along. So there's something for everybody depending on how you learn. Next, this is super important. Every single week, you get a no-nonsense, written action step plan, so you know exactly what you need to be working on. There's no like guesswork. It's like you have the exact plan that you're supposed to be following that week, so that you can get results. It makes it very easy to actually implement. Okay, even more so. This is why this is just not like some diet book that you're going to read and like throw on the bookshelf and go, oh yeah, whatever. Each week we get onto a live group coaching call where you have access to me every single week. You can literally write in with your situation, say, okay, I'm a 63-year-old, retired mother of 2 who's doing this, that, and the other. Here's my problems. Here's what's coming on. Here are my goals. And I will give you that laser focused coaching, and we will go through and again, keep you on point with the recommendations so that you can get, the results that you're looking for. I'll be available to answer every single question. So again, it really is a buck stops here type program. You really do get that hand holding that you need. Hundreds of recipes, fabulous recipes, lots of easy stuff, and again, You can print all of these out and keep these in your recipe collection. And it's so nice when you don't have to like, go out there and search for recipes. Like I said, it takes all the guesswork out of it. And these are really delicious, really delicious and super healthy. Shopping and Healthy Resource Guide. This is like my own private Rolodex of where I get my foods. I've been doing this for years now, so I have like a huge list of like where to get all the best foods. And again, that's fabulous. Like I said, it takes all the guesswork out of it for you. When you can literally like dip into my secret files and, again, just immediately, it's like leapfrogging. It's like you get to jump ahead of the curve because you do get access to all this. Okay, nearing the end here. I want to let you know, I've been doing this program for years now, and for years I charged $5.97 for it, and I would fill my classes easily. Recently, and for Harlan, I said, let's switch this up. I'd love to, bring in the price of $2.97 because I know that a lot of people have actually like struggled financially. Now, just to like put this in perspective, if you call me up and you want to like book a single hour-long session, now I'm not talking about 12 weeks of instruction and check-in coaching calls and actual lessons and recipes. I'm talking about 1 hour of instruction. It's $400 to work with me. And again, there's a reason for that. It's like my level of mastery has really, again, reached master level coaching with these things. I'm able to do so much more than just an entry level coach, who works in nutrition. It's like I specialize in working with the gut and the brain and all these things that really come together and they make a difference when it comes to reaching your goals with weight loss. So again, to put this into perspective for you, like hands down, I could not make this program any less expensive and still have it retain the value that it really has. Like I said, this is really a buck stops here type program, and the amount of information that you get and the amount of hand holding that you get every single week, like when you do the math on it, it comes down to like, oh, I don't know, $25 like a session, which, it's like try to go to the community college in your area. Can you pay $25 and like, go into a class? Like it just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. So that said too, if you are struggling, financially and you need to do a payment plan, I have this available too. When you sign up today, you start immediately. Like there's no waiting. You get access to the program instantly. The first payment is $97. The second payment will be 15 days from now, which is another $97, and then the final payment will be 30 days from now. So again, it makes it very easy. If you're waiting for that paycheck, you can do it today, and then 2 weeks from now you get your next paycheck. And again, like I said, this is an investment, but it's an investment in your health. And like I said, will literally translate into how you can carry yourself through the rest of your life living from a state of vibrancy instead of waiting until you get so sick and so tired that you have no other choice. So to get up, I have a bonus actually, and actually Harlan just messaged me saying that he's actually got a special bonus too. But right now, if you actually sign up with a full payment, the $297, I will actually gift you a 30-minute laser-focused session where we can really, really get very specifically detailed into your situation so that you can get the results that you're looking for. Now, this alone is normally, like I said, $200. So it's basically like getting the entire 12-week program, for $97. I mean, I just look and say, like, people will go out and spend that on a pair of trousers, a purse, and it's like, this is what's going to carry you through the rest of your life and make sure that you're living from a place of vibrancy in the body that you want, with the outlook on life that you want, with the energy that you want. And again, I can't think of anything more valuable that you could really invest your money in at this point. So to enroll now, it's very simple. Just visit weightlossfortiredpeople.com, weightlossfortiredpeople.com. There's more information on exactly what we'll be covering in each of the modules, so that you really, can be guaranteed that you're not just getting some flimsy program. This really is a solid, hardcore nutrition program that, like I said, that the top integrated medical center in Washington, D.C. has partnered and put their name on because they recognized how valuable this was for the thousands of patients that we have there.
I've typed the link into the chat box. You should be able to see it. It's a clickable link. Someone let me know if it works and that I didn't make any typing errors. Just tell me whether it works.
Thank you, Harlan. Thank you, thank you. And Harlan, did you text me and say that you might have a special bonus for anyone who wanted to get involved to get a
Yes.
tour?
Years ago, when I did my hypnosis clinic, the um, um, I did a recording that was called "Eliminate Nighttime Eating," and it was probably the most popular recording that I ever did. And thanks, guys, for letting me know that it works. Um, Anybody who joins, we will send them a copy of the hypnosis program, Eliminate Nighttime Eating.
Oh,
And it's a
well,
fantastic addition to
we
what you are doing now.
we've talked about that, and I was really blown away when Harlan was describing to me the success rates that he had with that. And again, I think it's one of the um, a tricky spot for a lot of people. It's like, you'll do good all day long, and then it's like crash at the end of the day. So to be able to support yourself both from the physical plane and from the mental plane, bringing in these wonderful hypnosis tools.
Now,
It's like,
I just have to say something that in what you're charging for this program, you could even get a single session in my office. Okay,
mm-hmm.
it's crazy how reasonably priced this is. Plus, there's access to you every week. It's just insanely underpriced. Our prices started for weight loss programs at 1,277, and they went up all the way to 3,077. Everything worked. Um, at 297, we never could have done anything. And heck, you know far more about nutrition than we did. So um, those who want to jump on, go ahead. We'll take some quick questions about the program, um, if you have them, and I'm sure Eve will be happy to answer them.
Yeah,
Go ahead and
sure.
type them in. I'll feed them to Eve. Okay, when talking about some examples of fat burner foods, though all that stuff is going to be covered in the program. Other questions? Don't see any more questions. So, folks, head over to weightlossfortiredpeople.com. I'm well aware of the content here. It's fantastic stuff. And, you know, it certainly has my strongest recommendation. So, Eve, thanks a lot.
Ah,
We will put this up if you missed any part of it. We will get the replay uh, to you, hopefully pretty soon.
and
All
if
right.
anybody has any other questions, they certainly can email me too. It's Eve, EVE, just like Adam and Eve, at weightlossfortiredpeople.com.
All right. Thanks so much, Eve, for sharing with us today.
Yeah, it's
Everybody have a
absolutely
great
my
day.
pleasure. Take care.
Bye.